on the news. The U.S. rolling out new sanctions against Russia and even members of President Vladimir Putin's family to stop the war in Ukraine. The Pope critical of the United Nations as he unveils a tattered flag from a besieged Ukrainian city. Plus,
the thing that's going to bring people together is love, right? There's no more love than through the Lord or faith.
we speak with Mark Wahlberg about what it was like to play Father Stu in his new movie, and
it makes me feel young again.
A 99-year-old World War II veteran reflects on serving her nation. I'm Christine Persichetti. Current News starts right now. The United States and Western allies added to the already long list of sanctions against Russia, and some even target the daughters of Russian President Vladimir Putin. This as we learn more about the global economic impact of a long war in Ukraine. Karen Kaifa has the latest from Washington.
Amid more startling images from Ukraine,
responsible nations have to come together to hold these perpetrators accountable.
U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland says the Justice Department is helping to collect evidence for possible Russian war crimes prosecution.
The United States is, at the request of the Ukrainian prosecutor, assisting in the collection of information with respect to the atrocities that took place.
Garland announced a number of U.S. actions, including charges against a Russian oligarch for sanctions violations and the disruption of a botnet controlled by Russia's military intelligence agency. This as the White House joined European allies in imposing new economic sanctions on Russian financial institutions and on Russian President Vladimir Putin's two daughters. But at a NATO summit in Brussels, an acknowledgement the conflict could last months, even years.
We have seen no indication that President Putin has changed his ambition to control the whole of Ukraine. But at the same time, we have to be realistic and realize that this may last for a long time.
On Capitol Hill, U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen warned of the economic toll of a long Russia-Ukraine war, with its disruption of the global food and energy markets. The EU took its first steps towards sanctioning Russia's energy market this week with a proposal to ban coal imports. In Washington, Karen Kaifa, Current News.
Pope Francis said the United Nations has been useless to stop the atrocities from the war going on in Ukraine. At Wednesday's general audience, the Pope showed a flag from Bucha, the city where many horrifying scenes were found over the weekend. The Holy Father says the UN and other international organizations have been impotent in stopping the war. Francis also denounced the horrendous cruelties that are being committed against civilians and defenseless children. Meanwhile, a woman in Spain used social media to help Ukrainian refugees. She was able to borrow a van from a stranger and team up with other strangers to help innocent people escape the horror of a war they never chose. Gloria wanted to go to Poland to help Ukrainian refugees escape to Spain to live with host families in different cities in the country. But she needed a van, so she posted an ad on Instagram.
Out of nowhere, a woman I didn't know in Valladolid had a van, and I said, well, great. I called her and said, thank you very much. I was a bit uneasy thinking about how a random person was going to let me use her van and put 6,000 kilometers on it. But she wanted to help, and she wasn't able to go, so she let me use the van.
She posted another ad on social media to see if others wanted to use their vans to help. In the end, 9 more vans signed up, 3 from Barcelona, 3 from Madrid, and 3 from Asturias. Through Facebook, she contacted a volunteer in Poland who was able to help her with the logistics of the trip.
So I was in contact with him, and he kept telling me, for example, that we needed people in Barcelona to stay at the border. Now that the border's flooded, some should stay and help in Krakow. I kept in contact with all these people, and we helped each other.
Each van would go to the border that needed them most and pick up refugees. On their way back to Spain, they would stop in hotels to sleep and eat, and nobody charged them anything. Gloria says this trip left a deep impression on her. She says there was a mix of funny and shocking moments, like when a Ukrainian girl wouldn't get out of the car to go to her new home in Spain.
When we told her that this was her home and that the house was super cool, she suddenly told us that she didn't want to stay. She didn't want to get out of the car because she had not faced the reality that she had to go move into another house. The entire trip, the train and car rides, she didn't seem to be in shock. But then all of a sudden, when we got to the house, she didn't want to stay. She didn't want to get out of the car. We all got really sad because you realize how difficult it must be for these people to have to leave everything with just the clothes on their backs.
Gloria and her 9 vans were able to bring 65 Ukrainians out of the country to safety, showcasing the beauty of solidarity in action. You too can help the people of Ukraine thanks to the Diocese of Brooklyn's Compostela Fund. 100% of the money collected will provide direct assistance to those affected by the war. Just make a check payable to the Compostela Fund of the Archdiocese of Brooklyn with the notation Ukraine and mail it to Diocesan Finance Office, 310 Prospect Park West, Brooklyn, New York, 11215. You could also give online at CatholicFoundationBQ.org/Ukraine. Oklahoma on the forefront of the pro-life fight. Lawmakers there approved a bill Tuesday that would outlaw nearly all abortions in the state. Under the measure, anyone convicted of performing the procedure could face up to 10 years in prison and a $100,000 fine. However, there are exceptions in cases of medical emergencies. The bill now awaits Governor Kevin Stitt's signature, who has vowed to sign any new abortion restrictions that reach his desk. Meanwhile, in Colorado, the right to abortion is now guaranteed under state law. The state's Democratic governor signed the Reproductive Health Equity Act into law on Monday. Colorado joining a handful of other states which are racing to enact laws like this as the U.S. Supreme Court considers a case that could overturn Roe v. Wade. In response, Archbishop Samuel Aquila of Denver decried Colorado's new law, writing in a tweet, "Jesus, forgive us. Tragic day for Colorado with the signing of HB 22-1279, which allows for unrestricted abortion up to birth with 0 rights for the unborn. A triumph for the culture of death and further erosion of the dignity of human life. We will continue to pray for the conversion of hearts." A full Senate vote to confirm President Biden's historic Supreme Court nominee could come down before the week is over. Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson now has the backing of 3 Republican senators, Mitt Romney of Utah, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, and Susan Collins of Maine. The 3 senators have said they don't expect to agree with all of Jackson's rulings, but that she is deserving of the confirmation. As we mentioned, later this year, the High Court is expected to decide on a long-awaited case that challenges Roe v. Wade. In a press release expressing concern over Ketanji Brown Jackson's nomination, the pro-life group, the Susan B. Anthony List, had this to say. Ketanji Brown Jackson is backed by many of America's most radical pro-abortion groups. She is on record opposing the free speech rights of pro-life advocates pleading to save lives outside abortion centers and supporting the false claim that abortion is health care. The Tablet newspaper has once again kicked off its Great COVID Relief fundraiser. Students who sell the most subscriptions to the Tablet will get money back for not only themselves, but also for their schools. And that's not all. Every new reader you earn for the Brooklyn paper will get you that much closer to this year's grand prize of $3,000. But you better hurry up. Students only have until April 29th to sell subscriptions.
Go out with a tablet in your hand. Get your parents to make a video of it and send it out to everybody you know on your iPad, your cell phone. Get it out. Let's get people excited. We got to get these subscriptions sold ASAP. Do it. You can do it. I can do it. We'll all do it together. God bless you.
That was Monsignor David Casado. And if you're interested in just what the Tablet has to offer, then check this out. The newspaper is showcasing the legacy of one of the crew members of the USS Arizona. Lauren Bruner was 21 when the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. And before he passed away in 2019, he envisioned a way to allow families throughout the world to preserve and pass down the legacy of his ship and crew for future generations. You can find that story and many more in this week's edition of the Tablet. Just go to your local church and pick up a copy of the paper, or get it delivered straight to your mailbox. Just go to thetablet.org and subscribe. There's a lot more news headed your way. People picking up the pieces after deadly storms tore through the South, while the worst is yet to come. And this.
He was a remarkable human being, and he touched so many people. He used all that real-life experience, all the difficulty that he went through to really help people and comfort other people.
The real-life story of a former boxer turned Catholic priest. We talk with Mark Wahlberg about his upcoming drama, Father Stu. Plus, Pope Francis prays for the world's healthcare workers as COVID cases drop worldwide. Parts of the South trying to clean up after deadly tornadoes and thunderstorms, and the destruction is widespread across several states. Amy Kiley has the latest on the hardest hit areas.
Today is about picking up the pieces for survivors of deadly storms and tornadoes in the South. But the dangerous weather isn't over yet. This video is from near Savannah, Georgia, where this tornado and severe thunderstorms turned deadly. 3 hours inland is more destruction. 100 miles east of Dallas, this is what's left of a trailer park in the city of White House.
We ran straight to the bathroom.
As soon as I got to the kitchen, the tree came through the house about 6 inches from me.
They raised the trailer up a couple of feet and blocked us in. We had to have the fire department come cut things out so we can get out.
The National Weather Service says this destruction is from a downburst of winds up to 100 miles an hour. Local officials say a 71-year-old man is dead after a tree fell on his mobile home here.
Great guy. He was a cowboy, and anytime he needed help, he'd help. He was the best neighbor you could ask for. We'll miss him.
Closer to Dallas, 4 people are lucky to be alive after this flash flood. South Carolina lawmakers took cover during a tornado warning Tuesday. 70 miles south in Allendale, people are coping with this damage. I'm Amy Kiley reporting.
At least 11 people were injured in clashes between police and protesters in Peru. This was the scene Tuesday night in the capital of Lima. Anger boiled over into violence after Peru's president announced a curfew on Lima and surrounding areas. The curfew was put in place because of ongoing protests over inflation and the rising cost of fuel. But after just 15 hours, the president dropped the curfew. The president's decision to drop it comes after Monsignor Miguel Cabrejos, the president of the Peruvian Episcopal Conference, decried the government's actions. In a statement, he said this measure is disproportionate and the government must make transparent the reason for its decision. This is almost like a state of siege that only applies, according to our Constitution, to cases of invasion, foreign war, and civil war.
I think God saw something in you worth saving. But it's up to you to decide what you've got to offer.
Your son is about to make a huge mistake.
I'm going to be a priest.
For Halloween.
If there's anyone who could play both a rough and tumble boxer and a clean-cut priest in the same movie, it's surely Mark Wahlberg. And in his upcoming drama, that's exactly what Wahlberg does. Coming to theaters next week, Father Stu is based on the true story of Father Stuart Long, a former boxer with a promising career that was cut short due to health issues. Our very own John Lavenberg, national correspondent for The Tablet and Crux, sat down with Mark Wahlberg to learn more about his thoughts on being Father Stu.
Great, so John Lavenberg with Net TV in the Diocese of Brooklyn. Mark, first I want to say congratulations on a fantastic film. And the first thing I want to ask is when you were first presented the story and then as you dove deeper into it, what really struck you and stood out to you about Father Stu?
Well, everything. I'm still learning more and more about Stu. I was just in Helena, Montana yesterday with all of his family and friends and hearing endless stories about Stu and all the people that he touched. But he always had a sense of humor and just, I don't know, the courage that he displayed, the dignity and grace in which he dealt with all the adversity that he faced. He was a remarkable human being, and he touched so many people. He used all that real-life experience, all the difficulty that he went through to really help people and comfort other people.
And you know, Father Stu's journey and that of his family, it starts as one of resistance to the faith, and by the end they're embracing it. It's Father Stu especially. And so what message do you think that can send to the country and the world at a time where the world is more and more secular and getting more and more secular?
Well, the thing that's going to bring people together is love, right? There's no more love than through the Lord or faith, and whatever faith that is you choose to follow. But we really need to work hard to bring people together, and hopefully even this movie coming out in the theater and people going and seeing it, laughing together and crying together, and Stu always being at work, really challenging people to still do a little bit more and be a little bit better. And so, yeah, hopefully we can bring people together.
And for people of faith that see this movie, what can they really take away, do you think, and learn from it?
Well, again, you know, faith is a beautiful thing. It certainly helps me, gives me great comfort, especially with dealing with loss, and we've all dealt with so much recently. And to help put things in perspective and remind us of why we're here and what it's all about. And so, you know, I think it's ultimately making people feel really good and uplifting people.
And you mentioned your own faith for a second there. What impact did learning the story and doing this movie, what impact did it have on your own faith? I mean, I think I saw that it took you a number of years to do this film, so what impact has it had on your faith over that time?
Well, again, Stu is just challenging me to do more and to continue to echo his message, and what am I going to do now after this to continue to bring people together? So that's really the goal. This is the first in a new direction of, you know, more faith-based content, things of that nature.
And you mentioned your recent trip to Helena to visit Stu and his family, friends, and be in that community. Why was it important for you to go there and show the film there and be with those people?
Well, to honor them, you know, to really show them the movie first. If I got their support and their approval, then really I did my job. The people that know him best, to really capture his essence and the spirit of who he was and what he accomplished. Trying to condense a decades-long story into a 2-hour film is not an easy thing, but you know, you go there, and that's the most important screening that I'll ever have, right? Showing them the film, and I mean, Stu is so beloved by all the people that he's touched. So you know, you better make sure you get it right. I obviously handle it with the sensitivity and respect that it deserved in telling the story. But you know, making movies are hard. Making good movies are really hard. So thankfully, Stu, and you know, he's interceded throughout the process, as well as the good Lord and Mary and all the people that we asked to bless this film.
And something that was very unique and I thought very interesting about the film was once it got into Father Stu's journey into the priesthood as a Catholic, it really went into detail about that journey, from the baptism to Sunday school to the seminary, being in those classes, all the way up to the ordination. As a man of faith, what was it like acting out those very unique experiences on an individual level, and what was maybe the most powerful one to be a part of?
It was a lot of fun. You know, I think you know, we had my dear friend who was there as the advisor on the film, and you know, I got to go back and do things the second time around. And I would have to say the ordination obviously just touched me the most, because so many people really campaigned for Stu, and I know he was devastated when with the possibility of not being ordained because of his affliction.
And then last thing is just his family, you know, the people around him. They're great in their own right, and they have their own great stories. So what was it like working with all of them to learn and to bring this film together?
It was fantastic. Again, I wish I could have stayed in Helena a couple more days to just continue to hear the stories of Stu, and I really felt his presence while I was there the whole time too. He touched a lot of people.
Great, Mark. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Good to see you. Pleasure.
See you.
Thanks.
That was national correspondent for The Tablet and Crux, John Lavenberg. You can watch Father Stu in theaters starting next week on Wednesday, April 13th. After that, it will become available for purchase on digital platforms like Amazon, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, and Vudu. Cannot wait to watch it. Pope Francis will visit Lebanon in June, according to that country's presidential office. It would be a show of support for the country, which has been experiencing an unprecedented economic meltdown. The Pope has held special prayers for Lebanon and has said he plans to visit since the financial downturn started in 2019. But right now, there's no word from the Vatican yet on whether this trip will actually happen. The Pope is also urging the faithful to pray for healthcare workers this month.
La pandemia nos ha mostrado la entrega, la generosidad del personal sanitario, voluntarios, trabajadores y trabajadoras de la salud, sacerdotes, religiosos, religiosas. Pero esta pandemia también ha puesto en evidencia que no todos tienen acceso a un buen sistema sanitario público.
The Holy Father called on world leaders to provide better support for their healthcare workers, saying, otherwise we will experience other pandemics. And some promising news from the World Health Organization. COVID-19 deaths are declining. The agency says, according to a new update, global weekly cases are down 16% and global deaths decreased by 43% compared to the week before. 489 million COVID cases have been reported globally as of April 3rd. But the situation in Shanghai is getting worse. Residents in the Chinese city are growing more frustrated with the strict lockdown measures. People there seem to be demanding more affordable food and freedom because they're barred from stepping outside. Shanghai is now the center of China's worst crisis since the early days of the pandemic. Most of the city's 25 million residents are under strict lockdown. Still to come on Currents News, it's a look back at the good old days. A 99-year-old World War II vet recalls her service with a select group of women in the U.S. Coast Guard. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back.
It was the most fun because we declared victory.
A 99-year-old World War II veteran looking back at her rich history in the military. The woman from Wisconsin reflecting fondly on her service. Her story is special because she served in a select group of women from the U.S. Coast Guard Reserve that's no longer around. Megan Marshall spoke with her.
Looking back at the good old days is something special for Marie Goff.
It makes me feel young again to see those pictures.
She's a 99-year-old World War II veteran who served in a very unique role as a spar.
I like the spars very much, and I always would be in the company of the best of the spars.
She enlisted after her brother died overseas, serving his country. She felt it was her duty to serve.
And after that, my mother didn't want me to join anything in the service, but after my brother was killed, I joined the service.
Goff was stationed in Palm Beach, Florida, and served at one of the stores in the Assembly Hotel.
Right there. See?
These memories she's flipping through are some of her most fond ones, including VJ Day, the day the U.S. declared victory.
It was the most fun because we declared victory, and that was the end of our spars.
By her side is her granddaughter, Caitlin Dunkel, an Air Force veteran herself. She says her grandma was the reason she joined.
I mean, she was always so proud of it. My grandpa was always so proud of it. They've always been so proud of their service that I was just like, I want that pride. I want to be as amazing as she is.
A woman reflecting back on life, looking at the role her service played, soaking in the joy and pride it brings her.
And we thank her for her service. That was Megan Marshall reporting. And finally, our Currents News team continues to grow. We are thrilled to introduce you to Violet Tawila Easthope. Look at that face. She's so cute. Violet is the beautiful brand new baby girl of our reporter Jessica Easthope and her husband Jerome. Violet came into the world a couple days early on Tuesday, April 5th at 9:14 p.m. She is 7 pounds, 7 ounces, and 18 inches long and couldn't be more adorable. Mom and baby are doing well, and once again, congrats, Jess. We cannot wait to meet her. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.